Thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations on being a She's on Her Way awardee. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Melissa Bryson. I currently work at the ACLU of Delaware and also am the development chair at the First State Abortion Fund. And honestly, I've been doing reproductive health work for quite some time, more of my life than I have not been doing it. So growing up in a hometown in Pennsylvania, it definitely was like a farm town, definitely was not super progressive. I definitely was my views and my family views were not the dominant ones in town. And that was okay because my parents were very supportive of, equity and just sort of like whatever that meant for us in that town, it was important for us to hold that value. And um, so where I started my work was definitely at a Planned Parenthood. Growing up, my mom would definitely, she provided me with all these feminist books and empowerment things and activities. She encouraged me to do STEM. I would go for like summer courses at like the college and wherever she could get me into. As someone who's an adult now, I realized part of that was probably just to give me something to do, so that she didn't have to always be there. But also, I think she just really wanted me to have all of the opportunity that was available to me. And through that, I definitely found that reproductive rights was just like, that was my bailiwick. That was my place. When I got into that work, it felt right and it felt important. And it felt like something that other folks really weren't focusing on in our area. So it was sort of like, well, if this is so important and this is so necessary, why isn't anyone, really talking about it? So I
Sure.
started, yeah, so I started volunteering with the Planned Parenthood. And that was also my very first paid job, was at a Planned Parenthood in Delaware. I was doing an internship and then fell right into a position there and had just finished graduate school. So I went to school for my graduate degrees are social work and human sexuality education. So I can teach and counsel. And of course, then I decided, why don't I fundraise? Um, so fundraising has sort of been like my scene, and where I have been able to make the biggest impact. And I really just love the field of fundraising.
So is that what you're currently doing? Like, is that what you would say your work is that got you to win the award of She's on Her Way?
Absolutely. I mean, as far as I can tell from what Nick said she wrote in the bio, so I've, been a fundraiser my whole professional life, as well as a volunteer sexuality educator. And so when, of course, I surround myself with folks who are equally reproductive advocates and feel really strongly about access. We've had so many discussions over the years about, how do we improve access in Delaware? Being a blue state, I think sometimes people don't think about what do we need to do to improve. People sort of think, well, we're good, but being good is only as good as the day that you say you're good. The next day could be anything. You never know. So being able to, infuse movements with funds is like the way that I find myself being the most supportive of reproductive rights efforts. And as a group of colleagues, we all have these different strengths. Sarah Stowens is our president, and she has great leadership abilities. She's led other organizations in the state before. Nick Beard is an incredible activist and great connector of people. And so when we sat down and we sort of thought about what's our next move as activists in this space where we no longer are going to have jobs. So we really started talking about what happened to the idea of an abortion fund. They've become so much more visible and a little more understood than I think they were pre-Dobbs. So it felt like a really appropriate intervention for Delaware to make progress. And so when we decided to make the fund, I took on that fundraiser role and I said, all right, folks, if this is going to work, we need 10 grand. We need seed money. We need folks that care. We need buy-in of people to support the effort. And so I did that. I mapped it out. I went to our networks and we pulled together our what we call sort of our seed money from our seed donors. And that was just, folks that we knew in the state that were equally passionate about reproductive rights and that we knew had that capacity. Everyone has capacity to be engaged as an activist, whether it's your time, your wealth, your connections. There's always something that folks can give. And this was those folks' time to really give that thing that they have to other people. So yeah, fundraising is definitely like, that's my scene. I was so sincerely confused when I won an award because I was like, y'all, I am just like back here
Doing what
making
you love.
sure that the wheels turn.
Sure, and I can definitely sense the passion. I mean, do you see yourself doing this in 10 years? And, if,
Oh,
what do you see yourself doing?
absolutely. I mean, in 10 years, for sure, I would love to have this organization as, a bona fide part of the community that people rely on and a place where I can, have myself and other folks who are in the movement to be paid workers in this, to really invest all of our time in providing increased access to abortion. Right now, we're an entirely volunteer board. So, it definitely, I log off regular work and then I log on to, to volunteer work. And it's really our goal, when we started the organization, to have benchmarks of success, and one of those benchmarks is paid staff, to create this organization to be a standard in Delaware's reproductive health care organizations. We talk with a lot of other abortion funds across the state, so we are so prepared to run that course and work alongside our sister funds. It's slow work though, when your primary function as an organization is to give out money, it is a balancing act of how much do you have to do the work and how much is the work. And so we are constantly balancing that the best way we can to make sure that we're always prioritizing the people that benefit from the work over anything else, which is why it's slow.
Right, right. And you have extensive work with Delaware women. I want to know what policy or any other kinds of resources do you think would most benefit Delaware women?
Oh, hands down, right now we have HB 110, and it's actually a bill that's going to allow Medicare aid. Wait, I swear to God, every single time I get it backwards, even though I totally know it. Medicaid
It's good to check. Good to check.
will allow Medicaid coverage of abortion. Now, that might not sound very significant face value, but when you know so much about who accesses reproductive care, who doesn't access reproductive care, and why, it's monumental in breaking down a barrier to access. I mean, we literally exist because people need to be able to afford their abortions. That's our sole function, whether that's helping them with the actual procedure, being able to balance life costs with childcare, groceries, taking time off work. It's all about enabling those folks to have the utmost power and control over their lives. And that is what this bill will do inherently. It tells people your health matters, your reproductive rights are valuable, and it falls under, a category of care where we know people are in need of additional resources. And this is a space that so many people don't look at and go, oh, should we put resources there? And so to have this bill being talked about, it's out of committee, it's on its way, lols, and uh, is so essential to every single person that can get pregnant in Delaware. We work with other providers to, orchestrate as much support as we can, but this bill is really going to open us to be able to give one more resource to folks to say, hey, if you're not on Medicare, here's a really great benefit of this, and let's get you engaged. And how can we get you around to this resource? And I think, that's another important part of what we do as an abortion fund is we don't just provide money as a resource, we provide resources. So connecting folks to whatever they need when they call. And this is going to give us a huge tool to be able to give folks to have more autonomy over their own healthcare.
That's all great. And that's great too, because a lot of the women who look to our office are looking for resources and looking for information that they might not have known is available. So that's great that they can watch this video and hear about that. And that we wanted to just get a little glimpse into your life before we see you next week as a She's on Her Way awardee. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time to talk with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Grace.
So much. I'll see you soon.
Okay, great. Thanks.